Welcome back to the Money Hill, your number one Call of Duty podcast with a betting focus, taking you through all the matches and majors of the 2022 CDL season and a Pro-Am Classic as well.
My name, of course, this isn't a major, not a major.
Okay,
a win's a win.
Listen, it's more of a win than any home series prior. We'll tell you that much.
Oh, really?
I'm back, of course, with Nikita and Big Money Bliv, Chris Blivens. How are we doing today, boys? Nikki, we missed you last week, of course, when we recorded before the Pro-Am Classic, so it's good to have you back.
I'm doing great.
Yep.
I'm extremely happy to see, watch the episode. I'm happy to see both Subliners and LA Thieves reach the finals.
I had one of
those.
Two
teams that I thought had potential.
Yep.
It was great to see that happen.
Agreed.
A win is a win, and winning an event is something Toronto Ultra still haven't done this year.
Yep.
That is absurdly true at this point. I mean, they just that team's not very good.
I mean, they're not as bad as some other teams, but yeah, no. And let me
that's your defense.
Let me dispel any sort of notion that I'm going to be on here saying, well, we're a semifinalist and our team is back. You will not hear me say that in this podcast. I wait for the Toronto home series. Let's see how they do in those
home series.
Where they underperform inevitably and are now tied to this roster because they made a semifinal in a Pro-Am Classic.
No,
you're saying
I don't agree.
Mickey Mouse Championship allegedly.
It is
which
a Mickey
I
Mouse
don't agree with.
I wouldn't even use the word championship. It's a Mickey Mouse tournament, and it is a Mickey Mouse event that no one really cared about. A lot of subs.
Let's break this down a little.
Let's break it down.
Yes, there were a few subs and honestly a few teams testing out new rosters, which I mean those are the rosters moving forward. So there's not.
Is it a sub if they're committed to it?
Yeah, it's not. You can't really bicker with that. I mean, OpTic
which
had
subs
general.
Are you talking about?
OpTic had general.
What subs are you talking about?
That's like the big one, I think. Is general and for OpTic.
Yeah, but he was.
He implied that there were a lot of subs. No, they're amateur players. I mean,
look, I'm considering Toronto Ultra's entire roster still in flux, and so at any point, any of those could be subs. So I don't think that this is the roster that they're settled with for the full rest of the season.
I mean, if they haven't made a swap now, I don't see them making one.
I would argue that there are teams that need roster changes more than them, which is honestly surprising for me to say.
That's actually very surprising for you to say. I thought you were the number one leader of root 'em, get the boy Mohawk in.
Well, Mohawk had one of the best plays of the weekend, which also didn't make the highlight reel, which is honestly annoying from the CDL. That I guess they're trying to get their 25 mil out of the teams and get that value there for them. But at the same time, he had a 3v1 in S&D, which I mean
it was just
fucking ridiculous play. But they don't put it on the clips, and that's disappointing.
I'm ready to put Mohawk in.
All right, here's the deal.
I'm ready.
We have a bunch of home series from the last 2 years where you didn't even have all 12 professional teams there. And this tournament did. And regardless of whether or not it's single or double elimination, which standard format is double elimination,
correct,
all 12 teams were still there.
Yep.
And I think it is more of a championship than any of those home series.
What?
Which, there's your what. But that is the case. And there was still money on the line. It's not like
how is that the
trying.
case?
What do you mean?
How is this Mickey Mouse tournament
series? It was a banger, and also
would you count
money into tournament?
Would you count the preseason tournament also a tournament?
No, I wouldn't count the preseason tournament as a tournament.
That's because it's preseason.
It's preseason.
Preseason.
Oh, you guys are so full of shit.
Stuff out mid-season.
Ultra wins the Kickoff Classic, a tournament, also has prize money involved.
Yeah, what they do right after? Forget how to play hardpoint?
Yeah, no.
The point
I
being,
think preseason,
you want to fucking
count
count this tournament, but you don't want to count the Kickoff Classic.
No, because preseason is people coming in after a holiday. It's like they literally rocked up with a tan.
Literally, we were on spring break with the CDL, and that's what it was. Basically, the entirety of the break as well.
Midway through the year, so
and there were huge changes going on, a ton of practice. All that stuff's still happening. It's not like that goes out the window. Preseason, Kickoff Classic is all about the clout. That's what you're really chasing at the Kickoff Classic. I mean, it's all about, hey, we still have a good roster, we're still the same team from last year, or we have a new roster and we're very good again. But it doesn't matter if you forget how to play the game afterwards. Like, it's gone out the window for Ultra.
So I have a two questions before we get too bogged down on this one. First is, what happened to the LAG?
Listen,
you guys were riding that
before.
train hard.
No,
that was like
no. Here's what I said.
I don't know how hard we were riding that train.
You guys were, you were riding it hard. Chris, you are the biggest flip-flopper there is. I don't understand how you can dislike James Harden. You based your whole game off on him.
My biggest question of last week was
that is quite an offensive comment. I take that.
It's so true. You were like, LAG, I can win the tournaments. They're such a good team, such a great team. And then suddenly now
no. My argument was that if they're gonna be a good team, I think the 5-man roster would be pretty cool if they did end up doing that. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case because I think there are more changes coming, and maybe Gunless will be one of them. But if they win Major 2, then it becomes if they start competing at a higher level, they could be the Ultra of last year, where they're always in that kind of top 4
Mickey Mouse tournament. Write it off.
I don't write this off. I mean, like,
I do.
They got fucking ripped. Like, they went 0-3 out of this tournament. I'm not going to say roster changes, but I think, like, sitting on their laurels a little bit from that Major 2 victory and, maybe a little ego got in the way for them.
Is Paris a top 5 team?
I'll tell you what. Paris Map 1 is some of the best betting that you can do.
Let's get on that.
They're so unbelievable in the first game of a series. It's toxic at this point. Like, you're just going to get your money there.
How does Ultra NA fucking allow themselves to lose 3-1 to fucking Paris?
I was so disappointed by that because I said this last week too. You were here for this episode. I said they're the best shot that any amateur team has to get out of groups. And they were the closest. And that was right.
And that was absolutely dead on the right response.
They beat Breach. Which, I mean, honestly, props to them. That's a pretty cool victory. Like, pretty cool double across the board. But, like, I don't understand how you throw this away by losing to Legion 3-1. Like, all you have to do, I think, is lose 3-2 there, and you win your tiebreaker. It's just thrown out the window at that point. Maybe a little cocky.
Poor tactical decisions is what that is.
Do you? By the way, do you lose that tiebreaker?
Do you win it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe they would have been 3-2, 3-2, and then a 3-2 loss, whereas Legion had a 1-3 loss to Breach.
But wouldn't they go head to head?
No, they would have been 2-1. 2-1 with a 3-2 loss instead of a 3-1 loss. It wouldn't be head to head, I don't think.
Okay.
So that's the story there. I wish they got out, and then I wish they beat Ultra right after. That would have been hilarious. The other thing for me is just how bad Seattle Surge looked in their group. It was like abysmal across the board. They also went 0-3, and this is after a pretty decent major. And I think they lost to Strike X.
They did.
Which is probably the worst team that was in, like, from the amateur scene in this tournament. And they didn't win a respawn against them, which doesn't usually happen when you're playing pros against AMs. Like, your pros are going to win their respawns if you're playing amateurs.
I mean, it was really bad in terms of, like, even the maps. They have a 25% win rate. The only team that was worse than that, or actually there's two, was Team War and Ultra Academy EU. But that's a 3-9. Like, it's a pretty, those are two low-ranked amateur teams. So you would really expect something a little bit better than that.
This is a team where I expect a swap to take place at some point.
Yeah, there has to be. I'm shocked there hasn't been, to be fair.
Yeah, well, it's been really up and down, and
they started hot. They started hot, and then just been a nice slow decline.
And this is something our boy Robert's been on as well, which is that they rely on Sib a shitload. Like,
yeah, he needs someone else in there.
I mean,
it's just not. But it's not what I find surprising, to be honest. Coming off of this mid-season break, this sprint break, as Chris calls it, is the fact that
I think that's what everyone's.
Not a lot
of
teams have actually made the adjustments I expected from them, and now I'm looking at it, and I know you're saying that you expect some to make it, but it's like, okay, what are you gonna make it mid-major? Are you going to make it after one major and then the week or two you have in between? Well, that doesn't make sense. Like, why wouldn't you have made it a week or so?
You know who did make? You know who did make the fucking adjustments?
Subliners.
Fuck yeah.
and Thieves. To be fair, they
came in the same group
with their roster,
and they came in the same group.
Yeah, stacked group, maybe, perhaps. No, I agree with you. The thing I expect to see in the near future is Clayster on another team.
LOL.
I'm not sure where.
LOL.
I think it's either Seattle or Minnesota. If Minnesota does decide to make another change, because of course they also looked like shit.
I think some of those teams actually prefer to get better, so they probably won't add Clayster.
That's a mistake, because Clayster's got a pretty good challengers team going on right now with him. I think. Who else did he add? He's got Fellow, Ghosty, and then I think John as well.
John's shit. Yeah, we've seen how John plays.
Actually, wait, John's on Legion still.
Yeah,
he's got somebody else on there. But it's interesting, and he's been frying. So they took down London Scrims. London also looked bad this week. That was,
but again,
not shocking.
You know what?
Decline.
I'm gonna give London a break. Not too much of a break, but a little bit of a break. They were in the most stacked group, it turns out.
But they only won one map against the two teams that you're calling the stack, because they beat War 3-1, which I mean you should do if you're London, but like it doesn't look good without Gizmo.
It should be closer. Agreed. You definitely need Gizmo. Hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. And then Zero's moving to a sub for them, so I'm not sure like what exactly is going on there. I guess the idea is that Harry is more comfortable on an AR, and Zero has been able to play that sub. He did it for London in the Modern Warfare season. So we'll see what goes.
Well, we talked about it last week. We're always out on people with first names as their gamer tags. Like, get that fucking shit out of here.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
We had this entire discussion about Danny too, which was quite interesting. That it's just not his first name. That is hilarious.
I know.
No,
it's such a like bad like of all the names. It's like, oh, I could be like Marcus Aurelius. I could be anyone. It's like Danny.
Yeah, and he fries.
The only thing that would have been better is if he called himself Bob or something.
Yeah, but that would be cooler because it's funnier. Do you know what I mean? It's like a more like
Danny's like just straight up neutral.
Yeah, it's
There's
just
no
like
comedy.
It's like naming it. Yeah, it's like naming an animal that. Like, Chris touched on it. We got to talk about it. Our two finalists coming from the same group in Group C, Subliners and LA Thieves. This was quite the weekend for those two. I mean, Subliners look good as shit. Let's be very clear. Like, they come out of that group pretty much free of a loss, except one map to Team War, which I think may have been a little bit of a fluke considering they won the whole thing. And then they go 3-0 Paris, 3-1 Toronto Ultra. That's a pretty easy task, maybe even easier than most of their group stage matches. And then they 3-1 LA Thieves in the final. So, I mean, props to them. The chemistry looks like it's there, too. Like, they're loving each other on the timeline.
The swap just worked, it looked like. Like, this was the Subliners that I expected to see at the start of the year. It didn't work out. I was vocal in the sense that I thought Crimsix or Clayster had to go. I was leaning towards Crimsix. He stayed. But this has worked out, and it looks like Hydra has the help he needs finally.
Hydra's a fucking animal.
To me,
getting MVP.
To me, it cannot be overstated. This is a fucking Pro-Am, so let's not lose our fucking shit yet.
Well, they beat all the other pro teams. It wasn't so much the that matters.
Actually, let's go through who they did beat. I think this is a worthy thing. All right. They beat LA Thieves. Duh. They beat a London Royal Ravens that are struggling and don't have one of their better players. They beat Team War. All right. Basically 2 amateurs and 1 half professional team. Then they go and beat Legion. Fucking joke.
Best first map team of all time. If you can get through that, it's 3-0.
Yep. And they joke. Also, they beat them 3-0. So Paris Legion lost their first map.
Okay.
It's a rarity, if you will.
It is.
Next, they beat Toronto Ultra, who we have all agreed we're not sold on. And then they beat the LA Thieves. I mean, so let's not act like
Ultra might be the best team in the game, though.
Let's I think okay. You know what?
Wait, hold on.
So my point being, they didn't go through this fucking like gauntlet of teams that you actually normally have to go through in order to win a major. So like
which gauntlet? What other teams did they not go through? Because they didn't
go through OpTic.
They didn't beat the Breach. They didn't beat OpTic. They didn't beat Faze.
They beat the team that beat OpTic.
Look,
in the sense that and they beat them convincingly. So
they did win their matches convincingly. I'll give you that.
They won, they beat Thieves convincingly, and Thieves beat OpTic convincingly.
They didn't have to play fucking Florida.
They didn't play. Okay, Thieves didn't play full strength
Florida,
OpTic. Let's be clear.
Right. I mean,
that's just the asterisk on that one.
There's a lot.
Florida.
That's a lot to asterisk.
Florida that lost to Ultra.
Florida, fucking went 3-0 in
Florida
groups.
had the most Florida Florida event of all time. It's complete bait. 3-0, Florida's gonna win this thing. Yeah, and they just malfunction.
Exactly. My point is, it's
but
not
they would
like
function
New
against
York
subliners.
had this fucking gauntlet that they had to go through and they fucking crushed.
No one has a gauntlet then by that
not
theory,
in a single elimination
we could flip it
tournament.
on the other side.
Exactly. It's a single elimination tournament. Let's not overreact, is my point. I'm happy for New York. It's my city.
I think you're just bitter that your
team
didn't win.
It
sounds like bitterness.
So happy that, the greatest city in the world is back to winning fake tournaments and championships that don't count as real shit. But all I'm saying is, I cannot scoot the same way that you think Ultra are going to be way overvalued and you can't wait to bet against them. I feel similarly about this week about New York coming out of nowhere and trying to figure this out.
That's actually the interesting thing, is that the book is not reacting to Ultra in the way I thought it would. So that's disappointing on my end. Took a look at the odds. I'm a little upset there. LA Thieves, Nikki, I want to hear your opinions. I mean, obviously make this huge switch to put put Nikki on a sub, put Kenny on a sub.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly worked out. It looked a little troublesome early for them. I mean,
it did, especially who did they lose to?
They lost to Subliners 0-3.
Yeah, they did. They got spanked there.
Yeah, they got spanked early.
But they also, I felt like in some of their wins against Ravens, they lost one to Ravens. There was just kind of but they got really spanked by Subliners. So it was one of those things where I thought they needed a roster change. When they talked about the switch to sub, I was like, this just sounds like a disaster. What are you doing? Now we're flipping everything around. Is this going to actually work out? Is the tempo going to work out? Apparently it did. I am not agreeing with Chris at all. I think a win is a win. There are maybe caveats, but when you beat the team that completely smashed OpTic, that to me is if you smash the team that beat OpTic 3-1, that is a significant win. So
if this was a real tournament, I'd agree with you. If this was a real tournament, I'd agree with you.
So if OpTic was in the lower bracket,
they didn't beat real
same
OpTic.
thing. Doesn't matter. It basically they had a winner's run. They had the thing that matters here is that Subliners had a winner bracket run from the top all the way to the grand finals, and they won it. Boom, done. That's it. And so the big win actually for me that was I think Thieves actually had quite an interesting path, because beating Boston and OpTic is not something I would have seen them being able to do before. And now this is also what must be eating you up inside, Blevin, because Boston's your team.
Boston, listen.
Great logo.
Great
logo.
They got destroyed
every time.
So
every time
we
Ultra
bad, but Boston's bad
great logo.
as well.
Well, Nikki,
okay.
Scoot.
Hold on. First of all, you mentioned it every time. The logo, the fucking logo, man.
Every time. All right. Now, Nikki, before we jumped on, I teased this out to you, but here comes because I knew you were gonna fucking try and throw this again.
Here we go.
Joke of a Thieves performance and a joke of a tournament in my face. Just because I think that the Thieves are overrated and not good doesn't mean that they can't have a good game or a good tournament, right?
Okay.
They still haven't won anything, and I guarantee you they will revert to traditional form and not perform. They're going to have one good game, one good tournament here and there, but they're still overrated and people still love them and they're still not a good team. And so just because I think that they're...
What was he referring to when he said that? Who?
So it was Bill Simmons and it was Ryan Ursillo, and they were basically saying just because we think that James Harden is washed up doesn't mean he can't have a good game. He can still have a good game.
But they've also said
LA Thieves is not James Harden.
It's still
but Octane is.
Okay, I mean, Octane had a very good tournament, an entire tournament, not just one game in the playoffs,
while
to
I
prove
hate
that
to
he
say
can still play basketball. No, here's
I
my
just
point.
wait, Sky. Let me just respond
Yeah,
very
yeah,
quickly.
Nikki's got to respond.
It's mine, and I can't
I
talk.
hate to say it, but I agree.
Yeah,
I do agree that I am not convinced yet. That is my response. There is that
great
to me.
A civilized discussion.
Success to me is reaching champs. In the same way, I don't think that just because you don't win a ring, you're a bad player. I think there are so many factors that go into winning champs, all of the winning a tournament, that right now the goal is there. Prior to this tournament, Thieves were not making champs, in my opinion. Or if they did, they were round one out. In and out, doesn't matter, regardless. Now, I think they have the potential to do better, but it remains to be seen. We have a major coming up. They can't. If they don't do well at this major, then this was a complete fluke and whatever.
The Boston win is more important than the OpTic win by a mile, because they lose map 1 and the wheels don't fall off the wagon. That is the big thing to me, because
usually they get reverse swept. They're usually a team that goes up 2-0 and then gets
anytime they lose a map, though, the wheels fall off the wagon. They lose maps and the chemistry goes out the window and they forget how to play the game. And that didn't happen, and I think that has to do with the role swap. A lot of it. Okay. Also, that hard point was pretty close. It's easy to get demoralized after losing 250 to 209. That is. It's easy to walk away and be like, hey, we just didn't close out. This is the same.
And they do. You're right. Yes, it's reverse swept, but the point is, it's just the second they lose one map, they were oh, we're done. We can't win now.
They kind of go
now
full
OpTic.
sail.
They beat OpTic. Yeah, cool. OpTic's playing with a sub.
Them. 3-1. It wasn't even competitive, really. I think OpTic is overrated.
At the end of the day, OpTic had a sub, yes, but they still probably were a top 4 team at this tournament easily, with a sub, and that's kind of frightening. Just one on the first hand for OpTic. Second part I want to talk about is that Faze can't fucking beat them. This is getting a little out of hand. If you can't beat them with general in their roster, how are you going to do it when illey comes back? What is the method to the madness here? There's something in the way.
Just hold out till next year. We've got 2 more tournaments. We've got a month or 2 left in games. It's it's done, and then you've got a new card coming in, and who knows? What's the point of even making a roster?
Arguably going to play very, very similar to this one. So
good, the last couple of years have been so positive.
Yeah, really. Hopefully, and we might be playing it for 2 years too, so a lot of content coming our way on that one.
Good. That's great.
No, I think that about rounds it out. Obviously, props to the New York Subliners for winning money at a real event. That takes us mostly, I think, into the next week of matches and heading into Major 3. So we're on to our next stage, and I'm very excited for it. I mean, it's going to be good to see teams, competing in their weekly games again, and we can also now really see the trends that are real. But there is one change. I already noted it. Zero moving to AR, Zero moving to sub, Harry moving to main AR, and then I believe it's Gizmo to the flex, something like that. It's something weird's going on with their roster. Zero will be fine on a sub, I think. I think London's on the decline, just generally, so we'll see how that plays out. But it's an exciting week ahead, and it opens with LA Thieves versus the London Royal Ravens and closes on Sunday. Well, I went all the way to week 3 with Subliners versus Boston Breach and New York versus Boston series, and that's going to be kind of electric as well.
But this is where, and I'll just jump to that very last match that you just touched on because it's worth bringing up. The odds have shifted in a way that is way an overreaction. You are getting Subliners at 1.60 versus Boston at 2.24. I love the value on Boston there.
Okay. I mean, first blood, you take it off the rip. Loves Boston in the end of the match of the weekend. But I want to say this. I do think they're very consistent, but the results are never they never blow my mind. I'm never oh, Boston's crazy. I think they have a lot of individual standout performances that will carry them to victory. I think Nero had one this weekend where he dropped 15 kills in a row or something.
But that's always been the rub on them. They always are fucking even keel. You never see someone wildly overperform. You never see someone wildly underperform. And I think that is what tends to lead to them being a consistent team. They're not
top half of bracket team.
Right.
I think they're losing part of their consistency though, and that's what concerns me. And I think New York is gaining some form of consistency.
Yeah,
and chemistry.
I'm not sure I'm willing to take that. I would take the minus 1.5 on Subliners. That at 2.27, I think is a really, really good bet.
I don't disagree with you, but I think the bet of the weekend...
Sorry, which one?
Minus 1.5 on the Subliners against Boston Breach at 2.27.
Absolutely not.
It's what do you mean? They literally just won the tournament with minus 1.5 hitting every time. If you had bet minus 1.5 on every single game that Subliners played in this tournament,
you make so much fucking money. Except the book would cap
everything
you
would have hit
at 100
everything would have hit. It's wild.
Not a chance.
Every bet would have been capped at like $20.
Money line is 2.24. That's the way better bet.
I also the other bet I like is the Thieves against Ravens minus 1.5 at 2.1.
You know, I can't disagree with either of those minus 1.5s. I think both those teams look pretty good coming off this event, and clearly there's a lot of chemistry there. I think 2.2 for Breach is a little iffy. I think that line's proper, is what I'll say about it. I think it's well made coming off the victories and losses of the recent tournament. Also, there's going to be a lot of shit talk because Methods is the one pro that was like, he tweeted out Mickey Mouse after the Subliners won, but also has not won anything this year.
Yeah, he needs to shut the fuck up. Like, if you don't deliver anything, it's like he can talk a lot of shit, but he hasn't delivered or won anything.
Hey, but he is dating Alley Cat.
He's a man after my.
That's the dub in IRL.
He's the man after my heart. I can talk a lot of shit too without winning anything.
No, Chris is actually gonna lose his fucking mind when I say this. So my lock of the week is Paris Legion beating Seattle Surge at 2.98. It's straight money. Surge is in shambles.
Yeah,
and you can't tell me differently.
Why would that upset me?
Because you usually, that's so deep flank that doesn't count.
No, that's a straight up money line. I think that's a great. I mean, is that a first? I would argue
it's a risky bet.
It's a risky bet, but I love it.
Pays off.
Yeah,
I would argue minus 1.5 even. That's where we start to get a little tricky.
That one. Now
I'm not sure what the line on that is.
That's 4.91.
Yeah,
which I'm actually kind of tempted to with those odds. Those odds are actually good enough that I'm like, ooh. I think that strikes a good balance there.
Surge are looking kind of shiesty. If the other one is that if you really believe that LAG is on the decline, you can get Minnesota ROKKR at 2.39. They also had a bad tournament, but I think there is room for them to grow and this Havoc sub for it to work itself out. So I have a little faith in them to win that game, honestly, day one or day two.
I am a minus 1.5 god this weekend, so that's all I care about. It's literally so I have the Ultra over Surge minus 1.5 at 2.34.
Ultra over Surge
minus 1.5 at 2.34. As shambolic as I believe Ultra is, I still think they made the semis. They're not. I don't think they're gonna win anything, but I think they are a better team than Surge.
Honestly, the way both of these teams look in Respawn, it's just gonna be a search and destroy competition because I feel like all the respawns are a coin flip. Actually, Ultra's been fairly consistent at control, so I'll give them that. But we're gonna coin flip both the search and destroys, and then
I think it's a 3-1. I think it's a 3-1. They win that, and then then you get 2.34 on your odds there.
I think if Ultra wins one of the first two maps, it's an easy win,
easy dub. But yeah, Scoot, you know, I kind of want to parlay your logic around Paris over Surge into another match of the week.
And what you should do is just take Paris map 1 every time. But yeah, fair enough.
Well,
go ahead.
I can tell you what that bet is. Paris map 1, 2.50.
For both?
Wow.
For the
Paris,
I want both. Paris Legion over Surge map 1 is 2.50.
Yeah, we love that. I mean, they're the map 1 gods. Unless it's
what
Bo3
about map 1 of Ravens?
Stay the fuck away.
So this is the game I want to talk about is Paris over the Ravens. So you can get map 1 at 2.31. This is an unprecedented opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
Paris is performing. I mean, look, performing again. It's a fake fucking tournament. Like you're not going to get me off that. Sure. But like, two teams that are in a bit of a free fall and not necessarily doing great is Ravens and Surge. Why would we not be just fucking monetizing the shit out of that and going kind of fading both teams for every match?
Because I think when you take bad teams to beat bad teams, there's a bit of chaos there.
But there's so much value, right? Paris Legion 2.44 straight up
this stage.
Yeah, I do think that the value is there, and like the odds, particularly on the final match of the day, is like excellent. My question is, since you were so bullish on Florida Mutineers being the best team that apparently the Subliners were fortunate to dodge it away from,
they were one of them
because that's what they did. They won every single match, but they're playing against Texas at 2.41. So how come you guys aren't?
God, you're about to. I know you're baiting so that you can say Texas minus 1.5 at 2.2. It's so obvious. It's so telegraphed at this point.
I'm absolutely not.
I'm a minus 1.5 god this week, guys. Don't play your hand out like
Texas minus 1.5 at 2.2. I think that's phenomenal. But I am shocked that 2.41 isn't tempting you guys when you're so bullish on Florida.
I'm not bullish on Florida. I said they had like a pretty Florida major event.
Well, no. Chris was saying that it's fortunate that Subliners didn't match up against the best team in the Pro-Am.
Scoot, tell me something actually. Is General still going to be playing this upcoming week?
So I don't think he is because
really?
Illey tweeted a GIF from Dragon Ball Z, I think, and it's it's one of those like revival GIFs, and then Sender responded to it with a GIF of the Undertaker coming out of a coffin ringside.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much seals the deal on that.
So let me just suggest. That's kind of a honeymoon phase. So OpTic, if that's true, OpTic comes back minus 1.5, minus 1.5.
Yeah.
Give me the parlay for 3.79. I think if you get General in there, though, if Illey's not feeling good against LAG for whatever reason, Mutineers at 2.41, there is value there.
Florida worries me against OpTic. They've had their number.
There's enough value there, especially if it's General. I think if it's Illey, I don't think that there's much of a competition. Maybe I'm reading that wrong, but I think if it's General, there is a chance, and there's enough value.
I'll tell you what match gets real freaky in my head. New York Subliners versus Atlanta Faze. And Subliners at 3.0 odds, I'm liking like a lot.
3.05. Now that
I think this is a grinder over 4.5 series where you can get that at 2.75 as well. But this could also be a trap where Faze just rebounds.
Looking at it. That's the one bet that I keep kind of coming back to and looking at and clicking the line and taking it off again. I don't know. It's unfortunately once again making a callback to BMB's insight, valuable insight that one tournament does not make a champion, and so this is where I'm looking at it. Like now, this isn't the phase of last year.
No, it's not.
No fucking way. No way. This is the phase that has been doing okay, but has been
making finals. They still have
the most CDL points. This is literally Modern Warfare phase. Let's be very clear. Like. It's the exact same team.
Yeah, but they're not winning.
No, they didn't win in Modern Warfare either. They would always get to Sunday and then lose.
Yeah.
It happened every time.
So 3.5.
3.5? 3.0?
3.5. Sorry, yeah. It's pretty.
So is getting engaged a buff or a nerf? That's the real question. That's the question I want to pose to you guys.
So let me ask one bigger question.
Because Simp got engaged this week, so it's relevant.
That to me is a nerf.
Good for him.
Not a buff. You get it's called distractions.
So you hate women?
No, I love women. It could be a man too. He could have gotten engaged to a man.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's true. Well, no, I mean he did get engaged to a woman. He has a girlfriend.
Right. So. Well, now he's got a fiance. But
that is true. Yeah. Shout out to Simp. Congratulations.
Congratulations. We love that. Unfortunately, what that means is that mentally your mind's somewhere else, right? You're just not as focused. You're excited. People are sending you text messages. Oh, congratulations.
Does he love the game more than his woman?
Correct.
That's the real question.
Correct. And guess what? If you want the deep of deep flanks. Let's go New York Subliners minus 1.5 for 5.49.
That's exactly what I was trying to bait out.
Yeah.
That's
outrageous.
It really worked.
Is.
It worked.
All right, guys,
perfect.
that's it. Wrap it up. We've gone too far. We're now into dumb territory.
No, we're never into dumb territory because we're never wrong.
There's a lot that it's like marketing. We can spin a story to get you to where we want you to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're only going to see it on the YouTube Shorts if it's correct. That's for sure.
Yeah, how many shorts? We need like a bloopers reel of all the things where we got like completely
wrong.
That's why we need an editor, because he will not let us get away with just cutting anything out. Right. Like it'll be a blooper reel of just the worst moments.
What do you mean? Scoot hits one. What are you saying about my work?
I'm not saying anything about you. I'm just saying that we need a dedicated editor that can sit down and just parse our clips and then shit on us in montages where the screen goes black and white.
Unfortunately, the only way that we're compensating this editor is with
something in the way. After bad picks.
Fortunately, that editor is going to have to be compensated with just enjoyment of shitting on us, which there's a lot to do.
There's definitely a sadist out there that knows how to use Vegas Pro that would do it.
I'm
so
sure
if you're listening,
I don't know why you love Vegas Pro so much. Not even that good.
Sponsored. Not us, but Scoot.
No free shout-outs, Scoot.
No free clout.
Come on, what are you doing?
No, I think, listen, we've gone through pretty much everything that we have on the docket for this week.
I think we actually did go through every game.
I am very excited to see what happens. I want to hear, like, who you guys are expecting to perform moving forward and you know, who's a little bit on the downtrend and needs to pick it up as we step into this next major, because it's going to become very important. CDL points are now on the line again. There's some teams that are fighting. New York still doesn't have a lot of points. Like, they need to fucking win. Thieves probably needs to win as well, a decent amount, even though they're probably in a decent spot. What do you guys think moving forward?
I have Faze.
Really?
Faze is and
Faze
this
what?
Is not this is as a, like, they need to win.
You know they're in first
this is
place,
not, like,
right?
They'll make champs and everything like that.
Yeah, like they actually literally don't need to win.
We have actually had enough now tournaments where they have failed to win the tournament.
They still somehow have the most CDL points.
No, consistency wise, I'm like, this is when I say this, I'm talking about their ceiling. So when I talk about LA Thieves, it's not about them not making top 6. It's like that should be a given. So that becomes irrelevant. Like, the point is right now, I think FaZe could make grand finals of champs and they'll lose there. They need to. I'm paying attention. We only have 2 more majors. Yeah, that's it. That's not a lot.
We got Toronto.
I mean, the Pro-Am Classic was arguably their like event to lose.
True.
Like, if you come in and consider all the changes, and they did,
and they lost actually pretty early on. So I'm now kind of looking at this, and this is why I'm saying this, is that there's no doubt they'll make champs. I'm pretty sure they'll make semifinals at least, if not grand finals. But the question becomes, like, can they actually win this year? And these upcoming majors are really the time to prove it.
So let me jump in here. There are 2 teams, in my opinion, that have to win, right? And so we got the Toronto home series, then we got the Boston / New York. Like, by the way, how the fuck are you gonna have a shared home series when the
New York's having the pro LAN and
two
Boston
cities that
is
don't
having
like
the
each other.
challenge?
We hate each other. Yeah,
no, Boston,
it's like Red Sox, Yankees, like
home
little
series. Like, what the?
Yeah, they get
fuck
along.
is
They
that?
get along way too much in esports. It's kind of weird.
It's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm here to fucking
You
create
gotta
a rivalry.
stop that.
Yeah, exactly.
2 teams, both fucking home series. Ultra, they fucking need to win because they have been fucking terrible.
Not going to.
And well, they need to. They need to fucking figure it out.
Make a good point, but it's not gonna happen.
In
Exactly.
In New York is a team that has to win. Like, there's basically 6 down are all close enough where they could still make playoffs, right? You got Thieves with 70 points. You got Mutineers with 70 points. You got Seattle Surf with 70 points. Ultra with 60. ROKKR with 50. Subliners with 40. Paris at 20. Now, look, I would love Paris to start winning some matches. The reality is, I don't know.
Well, I was about to say, if we're going to say that Ultra needs to win some matches, we might as well throw Paris in there as well.
Well, we might as well
Paris
throw
about to win a
ROKKR
major,
in there too. Like, we might as well put every team that needs to win points. The point being, those 7 teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, nailed it, are all close enough. Like, if we were like looking at like from like a Premier League perspective, right, where there's like, Champions League, but then there's like the middle of the table and there's like relegation. Like those 7 teams are close enough where that could flux a shit ton, and you could really kind of see some fun kind of movement if one of those teams gets hot. So I think Subliners are still in it. I think Ultra obviously is still in it. I'm actually very excited. I mean, obviously, I have a personal bias towards kind of both of those teams, and I would like to see them win, but they need to win.
So I think Subliners definitely do. I agree with it. Then there's Thieves and Subliners, but Scoot said that, so I don't have much to add.
I've got London taking a pretty far tumble down this table. I would argue that they maybe end up in 5th, 6th. They will definitely make champs, but it seems like there's almost a complacency with where they ended up, and now they've had this change, which is not really in their control. But it sucks to see. Like, I think they had a high ceiling, and then they just kind of flatlined.
So, Scoot, how many teams
really plateaued?
Scoot, all but 2 teams make champs? Is that the way?
Top 8.
Okay, so top 8.
Ultra is in jeopardy of not making it. Let's be very clear.
So this is my point, right? So
and then we never have to worry about our bet, which is sweet.
If we double this,
awesome.
If we double this from 8th and above, you have to get to 140 points. So let's call that cutoff line 140 points.
Yeah.
Raven could fall conceivably all the way out if they fucking like really shit the bed.
I mean, I don't think they lose every series. They're gonna play some series against Ultra. Actually. There's some losable things in here. Like you can lose to anyone right now, especially in Vanguard. Vanguard's a tricky little series. Now I will say this.
Please do.
Attach still hasn't gotten his slice of the pie. We'll start there. So look out for that to happen at some point. I thought it would be the Pro-Am Classic. There was a light chance, but Major 3 or Major 4, you better look out for Minnesota ROKKR because that man always wins something in a given year. There's still hope for Legion to win some major. All right. I'm trolling at this point. No, realistically, New York needs to win now. I think that's the big one for me. Like just being at 40 points, you have to get out of there. Like now you've proven that you can. It's time to win some league matches.
You have to get 100 points. Like you literally have to now be a top 5 team the rest of the way in order to fucking make.
I think they will be though. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's the difference though. They have to be a top 5 team.
Honestly, the difference is I'm no longer looking at. I don't care about the major. I'm looking towards champs, and these majors I think are going to dictate how we're coming into form. So if
major placement is huge.
Exactly, and so that's what I'm looking towards. So when I'm looking at Subliners, it's like, is this a team that can compete at champs? I don't know at the moment. Can Faze win it all? I don't know at the moment. Is LA Thieves actually going to just like compete at champs as well, or are they just a round 1 knockout? That's I don't know. And these are questions that need to be answered over the next 2 majors.
All right, final question before we send it off. As we hit the midpoint and we're a little past it, who's winning it all? That's the big question now.
As it stands, OpTic.
Sorry, buddy.
As it happened after Major 1, like I said, I've always been a fan of OpTic. That's my team, and I think they're going to win it all this year.
God, I mean, as a true OpTic fan, not to jinx them, I have to say Faze again. It's worked all year for me. I said it at the beginning of the year, so I'm not going to jinx the boys, so I'll stay on Faze for the time being.
Smart move.
Yeah, I'm absolutely trapping them into winning it all. Hopefully we'll see what happens, but of course, thank you for listening to another episode of Money Hill. If you are interested in League of Legends betting, we do a similar thing called the Gold Advantage. Take it a little more serious as League is, and there's a little bit more statistical bias in there, and it's very entertaining as well. Also
MSI.
hosted on the Best3 Network. MSI is going on
kicked off today.
Yep. Big win for G2, and T1 performing as expected.
EU undefeated.
Okay, well, we'll see how long that lasts.
Red Canids undefeated also.
Don't forget to drop us a follow on Twitter at the Best3 Network, or at Bo3 Network to be clear. Join our Discord, which is in the pin tweet. YouTube, and also hit that motherfucking subscribe button and the motherfucking like button. And drop a comment if you like what we're putting out. We will definitely respond to it, whether it be from the main account or my alt account, which I did actually respond to someone from the
I did see that. I was like, this is,
but yeah, of course. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Money Hill. We'll see you next week.
Toodaloo.
Peace out.
Bye, everyone.
Toots.